The marketplace was loud. Alien traders shouted. Strange lights blinked. Creatures of all shapes and sizes moved through the crowd. But in the center of it all was a cage. Inside that cage stood a tall woman, muscles strong, eyes sharp, skin marked with old wounds. She was a warrior, an Amazon, chains wrapped around her arms and legs. A collar blinked red around her neck. She hadn't spoken in days. No one dared to go near her. "Careful," one trader whispered. She killed 10 guards with her bare hands. Children peeked from behind their mothers. Even soldiers watched from a distance. "She's dangerous," another trader said. "No one will buy her." But someone was walking toward her. It was a man, a human. He wore a simple coat. His boots were dusty, his face calm. His eyes didn't show fear. He stopped in front of the cage, hands behind his back. The warrior didn't move. Her golden eyes locked on him like a wild animal ready to strike. She said nothing, but her body tensed. The trader stepped forward quickly. "Earthling, don't get too close. She's not just any slave, she's a killer." The human didn't listen. He kept staring at the woman in the cage. "How much?" he asked. The crowd went quiet. The trader blinked. You want to buy her?" The human nodded once. "Yes. How much?" The trader looked confused. Then he laughed. "She's cheap now. No one wants her. 50 credits and she's yours. But don't come crying when she rips your head off." The man pulled out a chip and gave it to the trader. The cage door opened. The warrior didn't step out. She just stared at the man. Her chains rattled as she moved 1 foot forward. "Why?" she asked, voice low like thunder. "Why would you buy me?" The human looked at her, his voice calm. "Because you don't belong in a cage." The crowd whispered. Some laughed. Others looked shocked. Was he crazy? The warrior stepped out slowly. Her body was bruised and tired. Her arms shook. But she walked with pride. The human didn't touch her. He turned and began to walk. She followed. A guard stepped forward. "Sir, you forgot to activate the control chip." The human looked back. "I won't need it." The crowd gasped again. The warrior raised an eyebrow. No control chip? No chains? Was this some kind of trick? They reached his ship at the edge of the port. It wasn't big. It wasn't fancy. But it was warm inside. He opened the door and stepped aside. "You're free to walk in." She didn't move. He didn't force her. He just walked inside and left the door open. The warrior stood there for a long time. She looked up at the stars. Her people had sold her. Her commanders had betrayed her. She had trusted no one since, but this human was different. She stepped inside. It was quiet. He showed her a seat. She sat. Slowly, carefully. Then he gave her something, a blanket. Not chains, not weapons, a soft, warm blanket. She looked at it, confused. Then he gave her food. Hot. Real food. Not prison scraps, she sniffed it. "What is this?" "Soup," he said. "Earth food. Try it." She looked him in the eye. "If this is poison..." "It's not," he replied. "I wouldn't hurt you." Silence filled the room. She picked up the bowl and drank. Her hands were shaking. Her mouth burned. But it was real. It was warm. And for the first time in years, she felt safe. She didn't say thank you, but she didn't need to. The human sat across from her. He didn't stare. He didn't ask questions. He just let her eat. When she finished, he stood up. "There's a bed over there," he said. "You can sleep if you want. I'll take the floor." She stared at him. "Why are you doing this?" He paused for a moment and then said softly, "Because someone should have helped you a long time ago." And then he walked away. The warrior Amazon, feared across the galaxy, sat there in silence. Blanket over her shoulders, warmth in her chest, and one question in her mind. Who is this man? And what does he want with me? The ship moved quietly through space. Stars passed the windows like slow-falling snow. The warrior Amazon stood near the door, staring out into the dark. She hadn't touched the bed. She hadn't slept. She still didn't trust the earthling. He had offered her food, warmth, and even freedom. But kindness was often a mask. She had seen it before. Betrayal always followed. He didn't speak much. That was strange. Most slave owners bragged, ordered, watched. But this man didn't even look at her for long. He cooked, cleaned, repaired the ship, and gave her space. She stayed awake for 3 nights. She watched him. Every move. Every word, but nothing changed. No tricks, no control chip, no locked doors. Just silence. On the 4th morning, she finally asked, "What do you want from me?" He was fixing a panel when she spoke. He looked up, not surprised. "I don't want anything," he said calmly. She frowned. "You bought me." "I bought your chains," he replied. "Not your soul." The words stunned her. She looked down at her wrists. The bruises were still there, but the cuffs were gone. She could walk away. She could kill him in seconds. She could take the ship and run. So why hadn't she? That night she entered the small kitchen. He had made tea. Strange earth drink. She sniffed it. Strong, but warm. She sat at the table. Silence again. After a while, she spoke. "My name was taken from me." He looked up. "I had a warrior's name once. But now, I am nothing." He set his cup down gently. "Would you like me to call you something?" he asked. She paused, then whispered, "Call me whatever you want." The human smiled gently. "Then I'll call you guest, until you're ready to be more." Her eyes widened. No one had called her that before. Not a tool, not a weapon, a guest. Something began to break inside her, something cold. Days passed. She began to move more freely in the ship. She helped fix wires, cleaned her own dishes. He never asked her to. She just did it. She watched him work. His hands were steady. His voice was quiet. He wasn't weak, but he wasn't cruel. One night she woke from a nightmare. Blood, screams, betrayal. She found him in the cockpit, staring at a photo, a small picture of a family, humans. "Yours?" she asked. He nodded. "Gone." She sat beside him. "War?" "Something worse," he said. "Greed." The two sat in silence. For the first time she saw pain in his eyes, the kind she knew too well. "We are both broken," she said. "But still breathing," he replied. She nodded. "For now." The next morning, he gave her something wrapped in cloth. "What is it?" she asked. "Open it." She did, and gasped. "Wooden practice sword." "Why?" she asked. "You train in secret," he said. "But you deserve to train in peace." Her hands trembled. She gripped the sword and stepped outside onto the small metal deck. He watched as she moved through the air, spinning, slicing, fierce. She was fire again. For the first time since her capture, she smiled. That night, as she lay on the bed, her voice whispered in the dark, "Thank you, Earthling." He didn't reply. He was already asleep on the floor, but his lips curved slightly as if he had heard, and outside the stars kept falling, slow and silent. The ship floated in deep space, quiet, alone, and safe. Inside, the warrior stood in front of the mirror. She slowly pulled up her tunic and looked at her back. The scars were still there. Some were thick and twisted. Others were thin and deep. Lines of pain written across her skin. Burn marks. Whiplashes. Chains had lived here. But the worst scars were not on her body. She quickly lowered her shirt. When she heard footsteps, the human entered with a warm drink in his hand. He paused when he saw her stiffen. "I didn't mean to disturb," he said gently. She looked at him for a long moment, then sat down without a word. He placed the cup in front of her. She wrapped her fingers around it but didn't drink. Her eyes stared into the steam. You saw them, she said flatly. Yes. Do you pity me? No. She looked up sharply. Why not? He sat across from her, his voice calm but firm. Because you're still standing. She blinked. Most people either feared her or pitied her. No one ever respected her. Until now. Later that day, the human handed her a toolkit. The engine needs adjustment. Want to help? She stared at him, confused. You want me to fix your ship? I want you to do something that isn't about pain, he replied. She hesitated, then followed him to the engine room. Her hands remembered how to work. She had been a leader once, skilled in machines and war. She tightened wires, realigned panels, and even smiled a little when something sparked and hissed. Still got it, she muttered. The human chuckled. You never lost it, they just tried to bury it. That night she sat on the deck with him under the stars. She finally asked, Why do you treat me like this? He didn't look at her. He just stared at the stars. Because someone once saved me when I was broken, and I promised, if I ever found someone else who needed saving, I wouldn't turn away. She stayed silent for a long time. Then she whispered, I was a commander once, in my people's army. He turned to her, surprised. She had never shared this before. I led thousands. I won battles. I bled for my planet, she said, voice cold. Then one day, they decided I was a threat. Too strong. Too loyal to the wrong side. They betrayed you? He asked quietly. She nodded. Sold me like meat. Her fingers clenched the edge of the ship. I stopped speaking after that. Speaking didn't save me. Silence became my shield. He didn't speak either. Instead, he pulled out a small box and placed it beside her. What's this? She asked. A data chip. It holds star charts and a message. She raised an eyebrow. From whom? From me, he said. If I die, this will lead you somewhere safe, somewhere free. She stared at him, speechless. No chains, he said softly. Not ever again. Later that night, she stood by his door. She didn't know why. She knocked once. He opened it, sleepy-eyed. Everything okay? She looked at him seriously. If anyone comes for me, you don't need to protect me. He nodded. I know. Because I'll protect you. Then she turned and walked away. The door closed. But the human stood there, heart beating louder than before. The warrior Amazon had spoken more in one day than she had in months, and something deep inside her had changed. She wasn't just surviving now, she was starting to live again. It started with a sound, a quiet ping, like something tapping the ship's outer hull. The human didn't hear it. He was deep in sleep. But the Amazon warrior's eyes opened instantly. She rose from her bed without a sound, her body alert. She had trained her ears to catch the smallest hint of danger. Her instincts whispered to her. Someone was watching. She checked the ship's systems. No alarms, no alerts. But the silence outside felt wrong. She stepped to the cockpit and scanned the sensors manually. A small ship. No ID tag, no beacon, just floating. Too close. Her hands curled into fists. Someone had found her. She didn't wake him right away. Instead, she walked to the storage room and opened the locker he had given her. Inside lay the wooden training sword. Next to it, she had hidden a real blade she had taken from the last port, just in case. She held it now. Cold. Familiar. She stared at her reflection in the blade. Not a slave. Not a tool. A warrior again. The man woke to her voice. We have company. He sat up instantly. What kind of company? Not friendly. He ran to the controls. Are they hailing us? No, she said. They're hunting. The screen blinked red. A signal had locked on. They found me, she whispered. Bounty hunters. His face stayed calm. Then we run. No, she said firmly. They'll chase. We fight. He paused. You sure you're ready? She smiled, darkly. Born ready. As the enemy ship approached, they could see it now. Black metal, spikes across the hull, red lights blinking like eyes. They won't talk, she said. They'll board. They want me alive. He looked at her. Then they'll be disappointed. He tossed her a stun grenade. Let's give them a welcome. She nodded. When the enemy ship latched on, the airlock hissed. Footsteps. 3 creatures entered. Tall, armored, weapons in hand. They moved fast, but she moved faster. She flew from the shadows like a beast set free. Blade flashing, feet spinning. One fell, another screamed. The third fired but missed. Then the human shot him from behind. Smoke filled the ship. She breathed hard. Not bad, he said. She grinned. I'm just warming up. But then, a voice from the enemy ship. You can't run forever, warrior. They'll pay triple for your head now. She froze. She knew that voice. Commander Creel, her old second-in-command, the one who had betrayed her. She grabbed the radio. I should have killed you when I had the chance, she growled. You still can, he answered calmly. Come out, face me, or I'll blow your human into pieces. She looked at the man. He didn't flinch. Don't listen to him. He won't stop, she whispered. He's the one who sold me. He knows I lived. He'll keep coming. Then we end it here, the human said. She stepped into the airlock alone. Creel stood across from her on the enemy ship, helmet off, smiling. So the wild dog found herself a pet, he sneered. How cute. She raised her blade. He treats me better than my own people did. Creel laughed. You're still just a weapon. He'll toss you away too. She charged. Steel clashed. They fought hard, fast, every movement filled with old rage. She remembered his betrayal. He remembered her strength. In the end, she won, her blade to his throat. He gasped, Do it. She paused, then whispered, No, I'm not your weapon anymore. She knocked him out and dragged him back to the ship. Later, as she wiped the blood from her arms, the human brought her water. You didn't kill him, he said. She shook her head. I wanted to, but then I remembered. I'm not the same woman anymore. He smiled. You're stronger now. She looked him in the eye. I'm not just alive now. I have something to protect. They sat together in silence. Outside, the stars shined brighter, but inside her chest something even brighter had begun to burn. Fire. It was everywhere. The enemy ship didn't leave quietly. After the warrior defeated Creel and the human locked him away, the remaining bounty hunters triggered a self-destruct, a hidden timer, ticking. 5 minutes, the human said, watching the red countdown on his screen. We have to detach. The warrior stood over Creel, who was unconscious and bleeding. If we cut the dock now, he'll burn with his ship. He looked at her. Is that what you want? She stared down at the man who betrayed her. Her sword hand twitched, but then she dropped her blade. No, she said. We're not like them. They carried Creel to their own ship. Just as the hatch sealed, the bounty ship exploded behind them, a ball of fire blooming in the dark void. The shockwave rocked their small vessel. Sparks flew, lights flickered, the engine stuttered. Damage to rear thrusters. The ship's system warned. Stability compromised. The warrior grabbed the wall. We're not safe yet. Smoke filled the hallway. A fire broke out in the lower deck. The human grabbed an extinguisher and ran toward the flames. Let me handle it, she shouted. You get the emergency oxygen sealed, he yelled back. Go. For the first time, they shouted like partners. No fear, just instinct. She dashed to the control room and locked off the vents. Flames hissed. Alarms screamed. Her hands flew over the buttons. When she returned, the fire was out. But the human was on the floor, unconscious. Burn marks on his arm. His shirt singed, his hand still clutching the extinguisher. Her breath caught. She ran to him and dropped to her knees. No, stay with me. She dragged him to the med bay, heart pounding. Her fingers trembled as she injected the burn gel, cleaned the wounds, wrapped the bandages. For hours, she sat beside him, watching, waiting. He woke to her hand holding his. She didn't speak, just stared at him with eyes wide and wet. "I'm not dead," he whispered. "You almost were," she replied softly. "I thought you didn't care." "I didn't. Until now." The next day, she returned to the training room, but she didn't pick up her blade. She sat on the floor and cried, not from pain, not from fear, but from everything she had kept locked inside, the betrayal, the chains, the fire, and now, the strange human who risked his life to save her again. When he entered the room, she didn't look up. "I don't understand you," she said. He sat beside her. "Good. That means I'm different." "I killed for survival," she whispered. "But you bleed for others." He smiled. "Then maybe you're becoming different too." That evening they watched the stars again, but this time she leaned closer. She spoke slowly, like each word carried weight. "In my culture, when two warriors save each other's lives and they are bonded," he looked at her. "Bonded how?" "Through honor, through loyalty, through something deeper." Silence. Then she turned to him, voice shaking. "If I give you my bond, you can't break it." "I wouldn't want to," he replied, and he meant it. She held out her hand, scarred and strong. He placed his hand in hers, fingers locked, not as master and slave, not as warrior and savior, but as two people who chose each other. And somewhere in the quiet dark of space, a broken soul finally found its first piece of peace. A soft hum filled the ship as it floated near a quiet moon. The warrior stood at the window, staring out into the stars. She wore clean clothes now. Her hair was no longer tangled. Her wounds were healing, but inside her heart something was breaking open. Memories, she hadn't spoken of them, until now. The human entered the room with 2 cups of warm tea. He placed one on the table beside her. "You've been quiet." "Need to tell you something," she said. He sat down without a word. She turned slowly, her golden eyes filled with a storm. "My name was General Velka, daughter of the High Commander of Alarin." His eyes widened. "You were royalty?" She nodded. "And a soldier. From the age of 12, I trained to defend my planet. I led campaigns, I won victories, but one day I questioned an order." "What was the order?" "To burn a village, full of civilians." She looked away. "I refused. I saved those people, and for that, my own father gave the silent command." "To kill you?" "No," she whispered. "To erase me." She walked to a drawer and pulled out a small silver disc. She placed it in his hand. "Play it," she said. He inserted the disc into the screen. A hologram blinked on. Velka stood tall in the image, saluting with honor. Her voice echoed. "I, General Velka of House Alarin, swear loyalty." The screen froze. Then a loud voice interrupted. "She betrayed the crown. She is stripped of name, rank, and life. She no longer exists." The image cut out. He looked at her. "They made you a ghost." She nodded. "A forgotten warrior. A discarded daughter." He stood slowly, and to her surprise, he knelt before her. "You're not forgotten anymore." Her lips parted. Her chest ached with emotion. "No one has ever said that to me." "Then, let me say it again," he whispered. "You are not forgotten." Later, she returned to the training room, but she didn't touch the weapons. Instead, she opened an old case. Inside was a cloak, dark, royal, and marked with silver threads, her old uniform. She hadn't worn it since her exile. When he entered, she turned to face him, wearing the cloak with pride. "This is who I was," she said. He stepped closer. "And who you still are." She looked down. "I don't know what I am now." "You're free to decide that." That night, they stood together under the stars. She spoke quietly. There is a place I once called home, but they would kill me if I returned. Do you want to go back? No, she said. Not to kneel, but maybe to show them I lived. He nodded. Then we go together. She looked at him in surprise. You'd come with me? I didn't save your life, to abandon it halfway. She stared at him for a long time. Then she said the words she had never said to anyone. You gave me more than freedom. What did I give you? She stepped forward, voice barely above a whisper. You gave me myself back. And for the first time, she embraced him. Not as a human, not as her savior, but as someone who saw her. Not as a weapon, but as a person. The message came during the quiet. The ship's screen blinked red, a private signal, encrypted and old. Velka's symbol. Once her army's crest appeared in the corner. She froze. They know I'm alive. The human stood beside her. Do you want to answer? She breathed in slowly. They summoned me to return home. He looked at her, carefully. Is it a trap? Maybe, she whispered. Or maybe they fear what I've become. They flew for days toward Ilaren, her old homeworld. A place once filled with pride, now full of ghosts and betrayal. She wore her battle cloak again. Her scars weren't hidden. She didn't wear chains or fear. The human walked beside her as her equal. When their ship landed, thousands watched. Velka stepped out first. Some gasped, others bowed, but none spoke. A new ruler waited, her younger brother, now king. He had soft hands and cold eyes. Velka, he said flatly, you were supposed to be dead. I lived, she replied, and I returned to ask only one thing. He raised an eyebrow. What is that? She turned and pointed to the human. Respect. Him. He is the only reason I still walk, and if this world wants my loyalty again, it must accept him. The crowd whispered. The king laughed. You demand terms, sister? No, she said. I offer peace, not surrender. Tension filled the court. Then, an old general stepped forward, one of Velka's former soldiers. I follow her, he said. Another voice. So do I. More joined. One by one, warriors stepped from the crowd and knelt to her, even after betrayal, even after silence. Her people still remembered, and now, they chose her again. That night, there was no war, only firelight, celebration, and something Velka never expected. Hope. She stood beside the human on the balcony, watching the stars. This could have ended with my death, she said softly. But it didn't, he replied. Because you chose a new path. I didn't know I could. He looked at her with warmth. You weren't just bought. You were believed in. She turned toward him. I've been called many things. Soldier, ghost, traitor. Then she took his hand, gently. But I want you to call me something else now. He smiled. What? She stepped closer. Mine. The stars above Ilaren burned bright. Not with fire, not with war, but with the light of a warrior who found her destiny. Not in battle, but in a human's heart.